Hello and welcome to the Emerging Consciousness Global Online Festival, a kaleidoscope of voices and perspectives on awakening. Here we are gathering with leading transformative coaches, cultural creatives, visionary artists, an eclectic mix of wisdom keepers blended with colorful new voices so that we can create a powerful space where curious people come for fearless and experiential learning. So thank you for being a part of this transformative movement to liberate minds and supercharge consciousness and activate the farthest potential of our human abilities. And this is a way we can co-create together a more peaceful and evolved world. My name is Tami Mensh. I'm a transformative life and spiritual business coach. I'm the founder of Kaleidoscope Lounge and Coaching and the creator and host of this event. And I serve people on a journey to fullness of expression, joy, authenticity, and deep wisdom. Those brave souls who sense that change is imminent and long to connect with what makes them feel most fully alive and the gifts that they were born to bring into this world. And that's what this event is all about. So I'm really glad that you are here. And I am excited to welcome today Illarion Merculieff, an Indigenous elder and Ngungun messenger. So pleased. Hello, Illarion. Thank you for being here.
Kelam megamna, kelam kasuda, angwan, tingu nungan way, nungan aksofta kuyach, kawalangan nungan way. I said, good morning. The morning tastes good, which is the way our people greet each other every day. And my people are from the Bering Sea, and we're still there after 10,000 plus years. And we have a very spiritual base for what we have received in this lifetime that goes back thousands of years. And I said my traditional name is Kuyach, which means like an arm extending out from the body, carrier of ancient knowledge into modern times, essentially a messenger. And that I come from the people of the sea line. It's stellar sea line, not the California sea line that most people are familiar with. And we have a very close, intimate relationship with sea lion. And our people have stories of us coming out of Egypt, going to out of Mongolia, to Siberia, to Kamchatka, and across by traditional skin boat. And so my people were so successful in where they settled in the Bering Sea, which is the Aleutian Islands and the Pribilof Islands, that we developed the most densely populated linear mile of shoreline in all of North America for our time. And in a place that's very hard to eke out a living. And we didn't have any food storage technologies. We still don't, except for air drying or wind. The Pribilof Islands are called the birthplace of the winds. And we didn't have footwear even in the wintertime in Alaska. We're the only native people in Alaska that didn't have footwear. We were so successful. I was asking my elder, how is it that we got to this point? And he said, well, look at that seabird. He's pointing to the seabird that was passing by. Says, they don't worry about where they get their food the next day. Why should we be any different? And what he says is absolutely true. That what our people did was be present in the moment and in the heart, with the understanding that the rest will be taken care of. And we do these things in the mind that worries about what's going to happen next day, what kind of job I'm going to have, whether or not I'm going to have enough money. Well, that's not the way we are. We just sit there and be present in the moment and in the heart, and we will know, if we're in the heart, we will know what we should be doing. And so it's all taken care of.
That sounds so profoundly relevant for this time where we are right now, where things are uncertain, and we can rest in the knowledge that we have what we need, just like the sea lion and the birds that. Even if you didn't have footwear, that in Alaska, that seems amazing, and you were okay. Everybody was okay. We had what we needed in the heart.
Yeah.
That's really, really powerful. And I'm so glad that you're here today to talk about the topic of Indigenous perspectives on emerging consciousness. Because to me, this is really where we should be looking, to the past and to nature, for these new ways of being, and not new ways of being, but ways to guide us forward, and to remember those important traditions. And
Yeah.
so I'm happy that you're bringing this wisdom, to us here today.
Yeah, well, just a little bit about me. My generation was the last generation that had a traditional upbringing. And literally the entire village of about 450 people on this small island, 12 miles long and 5 miles wide, in the middle of the Bering Sea. We have these ways where every child got to visit with equal time with every segment of the community. So literally the entire village raised me, and I had to spend equal time with the men who teach me the men's ways, and with hunting and fishing, and the women would teach me the women's ways, and food preparation, all that goes into it, and the women's feminine consciousness. And the elders would take me out camping with them every weekend from age 5 to age 13, telling me story after story after story. It's just, it was amazing. And then with my peers, of course, I just had to play. And the adult's responsibility was to create the space for a child to learn, not tell them what to learn, how to learn, or define anything. So I grew up not asking any question. I did my job of watching, listening, and learning. And from that, it's an ingenious way, because without the interference of an adult in terms of what I should know, I explore it myself, and I can expand out to the maximum of my capability. Very few, our elders, my mom would say, we would cry when a baby is born and celebrate when they die. That's opposite today. But, we know that when we're in spirit form, we are formless. And then we come into this dense form of the human body. And so we're going to have some difficult time being human. And then when we die, we're back to our formless form. So that's why we would cry when the baby's born and celebrate when they die. And this way is so freeing. And the elders say, we've got to contemplate the mystery of death in order to live. And most people try to avoid this idea of what being dead, or what the our mortality is. But our people would welcome it. And, I've had more contact with death than probably anybody else, because I got my traditional name, Kuyach, when I was 4 years old, by the last Kuyach that was left alive amongst my people, all of my people. And he gave me his name at age 4. And and so we would call each other kuya. And then, you know, to get to know the men's ways, I had a traditional mentor called an acha, and at 5 years old. It's not a matter of, you know, by appointment or by relatives that you have your acha. You see an older adult and a younger kid or person would look at each other and they know instantly that that's my acha. And we call each other acha. And he taught me much of what I know about, you know, the reverence for life, about relationship to ourselves and to others, and about being a man, about sharing and caring and cooperation, all these kinds of things. But yet from age 5 to age 13, that he had me under his wing, he may have said no more than 200 words to me, because words are considered superfluous and may even be dangerous.
So there's so much there that you just said that that has me thinking. And you know, you describe this way of being raised with the elders and with the women, and not in this, you know, formalized education, you know, system, but by being led by example and by this relationship. You didn't ask too many questions. You learned by doing and being with the other people in your community. And you know, it makes me wonder, bringing it to today, you know, with the kids, you know, not being in the classroom and being in the home, and not being in the four walls and the structured environment of the class, if maybe that is possibly opening us up to a new way of educating our children than maybe we've been doing the last several, you know, years.
I agree. Mother Earth, you know, she has survived for billions of years, and she's going to survive for billions more. It's a question about whether or not we humans are going to survive. And it's going to be decided by everyone alive in this lifetime. It's not going to be the next generation. It's going to be everybody alive today. And we are working at it, where I talk with people all over the world on a regular basis now, which is a good thing, because they're starting to listen to what we have to say, all these indigenous people around the world. And they are anxious to get their messages out. And they're starting to have these opportunities. But every time I talk on the internet to these national and international gatherings, people are waking up. And they're waking up by the millions. It's something that the media doesn't recognize, but we are having it, and it's an emerging group of people around the world. And it's probably a good thing that the media doesn't acknowledge us.
Better off.
Yes. So by the time we're ready to move, you know, we're going to energetically connect to each other. We say "Angwan," hello, my other self, which is the way we greet each other every day. That our other selves are going to shake the world at some point in time. We don't know what number is going to be needed, but this is why my elders tell me I must go out now to share what I know.
Right. I do feel that it is now, and that, you know, we are the people, and we can make a difference. It's a very transitional, very important, you know, tipping point of time. And I'm so pleased to see that, you know, that people are waking up, that you're seeing that, you're feeling that, and you're, you know, helping to spread that message and bring that consciousness, you know, elevate that.
Yeah, and there are many messengers like me around the world from different indigenous cultures. I work for a group of elders from all over the world that we called together into Kauai in 2017. And I came there and asked them only two questions. One, what is the state of the world as they see it now? And two, what must we be doing now? And we developed a team of younger people who have pledged to get messages of the elders to the world. So we launched a 14-minute film called Wisdom Weavers of the World on Earth Day. And it was shown by or seen by maybe 80,000 people is what the estimate is. The message that they have is that in terms of the state of the world as they see it now, of course, we all know. And it's a combination of all kinds of very hard things for human beings to endure. And that what we need to do is change our consciousness now. And the consciousness that they're talking about is a consciousness that is focused on the mind and the brain, where they think that the intelligence is in the brain when the intelligence is in the entire human body. And it's led by our hearts. Our hearts are the only place in us that is in direct connection with the divine. And that, you know, for example, on St. Paul Island, where I was born and raised, an anthropologist came there and noticed that we had this plant that we pick at a certain time of year, and we render the juice out of it, and it's poison. And this poison was used to tip a spear, and the spear, the hunter would, you imagine we were hunting large whales, and we only used a 17-foot craft that is 22 inches wide, carries one person. And this one person has this poison at the tip of the spear and spears the whale. And it doesn't go, the poison doesn't go anywhere else but to the heart. And so the anthropologist is wondering, how did you people figure this out? You know, did you see animals die at a certain time because they ate this, or, you know, what? Or did you learn this over generations of time? And the elder who was there said, no, we talked to the plants and they told us what to use. And so we obeyed that. And what that elder is talking about is that we have a story about the womb at the center of the universe, a place of creation and creativity, and that all the information, the original instructions for all people on the world was at one time given, and it's received by the heart. And it's not like English, it's not like language. It's something different. I can't explain what that is, but I know what it is. And for that reason, you know, we don't believe anything, because belief is a borrowed piece of information from someone else. We only trust what we know. And what we know is not limited by your mind. It's encompassed from the heart, which is connected to the divine. That we can come to the answers that we want in our lives. Like each individual has this question, you know, what am I here for? What am I doing? What should I do? And the elders would say, well, listen to your heart, because the heart always knows. And if you don't edit it by the mind, you just simply listen and listen in silence, and you will receive what you need to know. And during this time, we need this more than ever, because each one of us has a gift to give to the world. And that gift can only be found by yourself, which is a unique gift from your heart. And those who have the courage to do this will find what they need to do for the world right now. And Mother Earth, she has given us a lesson in this pandemic. This virus that is circulating was meant to slow us down. And so that we can contemplate what we have wrought and what, we must change our consciousness. So she's trying to help us do that. And when the first pandemic hit the world stopped moving so much. And as a result of that, animals were showing up everywhere where people used to be around the world. You could see the Himalayas for the first time in 30 years. And the ozone layer above the Arctic healed. She was showing us how quickly she can respond to heal if we just slow down. And by slowing down, it allows us to listen to what Mother Earth is saying. And I mean really what Mother Earth is saying. So there are few indigenous peoples around the world that can still talk with Mother Earth. And that talk is based on several things. One is the language that the people use. Especially if they're in a place where they have survived and thrived for thousands of years, for generations, it contains the vibration of that area. The language is a reflection of the vibration of the land in which they're on. And then you have your own culture and your own language, and that is the only difference between what traditional peoples know amongst themselves, and that is different. Originally, the template for the original instructions were given to every person in the world, every group of people in the world. And when we left the present moment, we created time, for one thing. And the other thing is that we lost who we are. And we did that by disconnecting from our hearts. So we forgot what we were supposed to do. And now the elders have been gathering for the last 30 years or so, sharing what they know about their sacred teachings with other cultures. And this way, the elders understood that this original instructions, this hoop of 100 of original instructions were given and can only be, at one point in time, that was lost. And when it was lost, the elders understand that the only time that people will be able to make their sacred teachings whole again is when they trust each other, when they open up their hearts to share what they know. And so it's the elders' prayers that this hoop will be made whole again. And they did their job for the last 30 or so years, sharing what they know. And now it's going to be up to the rest of us.
Right. And now that you, yes, the pandemic slowed down the world, and many people, felt, oh, I'm spending more quality time with my family, and I'm able to do things I didn't get to do before, and all of those things. Now, as we're coming through the pandemic, and people are getting vaccinated and getting this desire to get back to normal, do you, which there is no normal, and I feel like that's completely irrelevant, is do you, where do you see us? Do you see these lessons sticking, or do you think many people will forget again?
Oh, well, many people will forget, but those who do remember, it's like an epiphany for their lives. And so they are still continuing their path and will continue regardless of what happens around them. And what's going to happen, as best as the elders can see, is that it's going to get much harder. And that for a period of time. And that when enough people change their consciousness, then it will shift dramatically, or almost overnight. And in the meantime, we've just got to stay our course and stay grounded during these time of great changes to Mother Earth. And you know, the people who are focused on political corruption, wars, gross violation of women, the murders, the suicides, the drug addictions, and all that kind of thing. The elders are saying they're good people, and they have good hearts, but you know, we've been praying, for example, for the end of wars for thousands of years, but yet we still have wars, and we don't ask why. And what the elders are saying is that the why is that these things that we're focused on, we're pouring our mental, physical, and spiritual energies into that which we want to stop. Mm. And that what we need to do is focus on that which you want to see, and not in reaction to anything else. In the meantime, they said, yeah, there are things that are happening that need to be stopped. Go ahead and do that, but don't pour your mental, physical, and spiritual energies into it, because we are energy beings. And that when we do this, with the energy that we have, we put into that thing that we're trying to stop, and it gets worse.
Yeah, right. Focus on, put attention to what you want to create. Yeah.
Exactly. But it's going to take great courage, because it's not easy to get to the point of listening to the heart. The reason that we left the heart space in the first place is because of the pain that we suffered. And first it was a masculine imbalance, and then it went to a feminine imbalance, and then it was like a pendulum that has gone back and forth. And the last swing of the pendulum is the masculine imbalance that we're still in. And the elders are saying we have an opportunity to stop this pendulum into dead center for the first time since the beginning of time. Mm. And remember that we began time when we left our hearts, when we left the proverbial infinite moment.
Letting that sink in, that image of the pendulum. And you know, I do feel it coming back to center. And when you say for the first time, you know, since the beginning of time, isn't that something when everything's in balance, you know, and whole again?
Yeah. And you know, we tend to be, generally speaking, very self-centered. We're focused on ourselves and our family members or people that are special to us. And when we are unable, it seems, to think of Angwan, hello, my other self, you are my other self. And that when we start to get to that point, then we have a chance.
Right.
So that's why I do what I do.
Yes, and that's why we're glad you do what you do. And we all, there's so much to learn from it. And I can't help but feel that people, you know, like you said, cut themselves off from their hearts because that hurts. You know, you feel pain there and tense emotion, and so
exactly.
we've cut ourselves off from that, and we need that to feel that wholeness and to feel that love, you know, for the other self.
That's very true. You know, when I was saying that it's going to be a very difficult journey to go from the mind to the heart, And traditionally, the heart used to tell the mind what to do, and the mind's job was to implement that which your heart is telling you to do. Now it's reversed. The mind is telling the heart what to do. And to jump like this, to go from the mind to the heart, the Hopi and Maori would say, let go of the sides of the riverbank, move toward the center, find those who have done the same, and celebrate. What that means during this time, letting go of the side of the riverbank, is letting go of all these things we are attached to. And move toward the center means moving towards your proverbial heart center and the center of the river of life, because it knows where it's going, we don't. And find those who've done the same is find those who've had the courage to jump like you did. Now, for me, when I did that over 30 years ago, you know, I was in the patriarch. I was at the peak of patriarchy in Alaska. I became the first Native Commissioner of Commerce and Economic Development in the state of Alaska, cabinet post. I was chair of some 17 different councils and boards. And I was vice chair of a $3 billion company. And I gave it all up in one day because my message was, okay, you've learned as much as you can learn about what this society is doing. It's now time for you to do your thing. And that is to be present in the moment and in the heart. And to do that, I had to let go of all this stuff. And it takes courage because, you know, like you said, it's very painful. You have to go through these things that have traumatized you so much that it keeps you from listening to your heart, and process it and let it go completely. Then you can hear what your heart is telling you to do. But until that's done, it's not going to happen. And so it takes courage. And I encourage all of your people who are watching this to really think about this, and then to feel your heart, even if it's for just a moment when you're outside and you're looking at the trees, for example, and contemplating them, you're touching your heart. And, you know, the teacher for our ways is the 2-year-old child. The 2-year-old child, well, I was at a Native American gathering and of 2,000 people, and in walks in the middle of this gigantic circle, a 2-year-old child. And she was buck naked. She was not concerned about the things of the mind. And when they understand that I'm talking in terms of we are energy being, they are experts at releasing energy. And so when they're mad at their buddy that they're playing with, they engage their whole bodies and they just go at it. Then as soon as that's done, 2 minutes later, they're playing with their buddy again. You know, it's quite amazing. And that what we've got to do is remember that child within and all the things that child, and use and go look at, watch a 2-year-old child, and you'll see the genius of them in knowing what it takes to be a real human being. And in fact, I think it was in the UK several years ago, they did a study about children. And what they learned is that every child, what they concluded was that every child was in fact a genius. They rated at the genius level, and that we dumped ourselves down as we got older because of all these defensive mechanisms that we take on.
So there's so much to learn, and it's not lost on me that you keep using the word, you know, courage and encourage, you know, which is the root of the core, the heart. You know, they're heart-centered words that you're using, and it's beautiful. And I, you know, the story that you said about 30 years ago when you left all of that patriarchal type, you know, success behind to live this live this way, what what has changed for you? Meaning, do you find it hard to live this heart-centered, what life, the traditional ways that you were brought up in this type of world today?
Yeah, this world, for example, we don't emote very much. And if a man were to cry at a business meeting, that's a no-no, and you can accept laughter and anger, but nothing else. And what happens, according to my elders, they say, it's like when you don't get rid of or process your feeling, it becomes like a stagnant pool in you. And that stagnant pool over time makes you sick. And that what we do is you watch that child and see how they're getting rid of or letting go of their energy that happens. Well, in this world, everybody's kind of stiff. You even look at the news media, they're all very stiff and very proper, and they move their heads a bit. And so, and this is the example that we're teaching our kids by doing it. And if we want real change, we've got to change every aspect of ourselves. And, start off small. It doesn't have to be big. You start off small so that you know that you can do this. And everybody is capable of doing this. And, when I dropped out of the mind, the first time, I was 6 years old. I was underneath the bird cliff. The Pribilof Islands were known as the Galapagos of the North. And we had like 2.5 million seabirds. And so on an island that's 12 miles long and 5 miles wide, there's only like 7 cliffs on the island, and every cliff has thousands and thousands of birds. So I would love to go there at 6 years old. I'd walk out in the morning, early morning, like 3 o'clock in the morning, it's still dark out, by myself. And I would be encouraged by my parents. And you would think that's child abuse today, but no, it was real. And during that time, the only time an adult would get involved with a young person is if they were getting into danger of themselves or others. And that's the only time that they would interfere. But anyway, I would go underneath the bird cliffs. I would walk at night 3 miles from the island, from the village. So I'm 6 years old. I walked 6 miles just to be with the birds, 3 miles through that and 3 miles back to the village. And I would go there early in the morning, and there'd be birds everywhere because they would wake up from the ledges and then take off. They would form a circle around in front of the cliff. And there must be at least 10,000 seabirds that I was watching underneath that one cliff. And they would go fly in a circle in front of the cliff, waiting to collect members of their own species before they go foraging. And they would fly within inches of me. And I noticed something when I was my 6-year-old mind, that they didn't even clip a wing. Here are thousands of birds in apparent chaos. They're flying at different speeds, different heights, and they're all coming in this one place, and they never even clipped a wing. I said, what is that? What's different between the seabirds and me? And so I thought, well, birds don't think. And so I said, okay, I want to be a bird. And so I said, I'm not going to think. And I got that down within 2 months. I could not think not a single word would come through my head for hours. I can still do that today. But that's when the magic happened. I could go out fishing where we're halibut fishing, hook, line, and sinker, and I could feel the halibut before it hits the line. I can tell you when it hits the line, whether or not it's a 3-foot halibut, 4-foot halibut, 5-foot halibut. I can tell you that. I can tell you whether or not it's male or female. I can tell you how it's going to fight on the way up. These are all essential pieces of information for a hunter, a traditional hunter. And it's a feminine way. It's considered feminine. And this way was accepted. The best hunters were the ones that had the balance between the masculine and the feminine. And those who don't are not very good hunters or fishermen. And you know, we say, you know, where's your feminine self? To a man, and they would get, you know, freaked out. They don't know what that means, and they don't think it has a place in them. But every person, male or female, has that masculine and feminine.
Right, and so it's more of you were cutting off the thinking mind and getting into the feeling center and the vibration that you were feeling, and with the things, the fish that you were fishing, and the birds, and you know, how do we do that today? How do we turn the thinking mind off in our ways that we're not fishing, we're in, you know, commerce, and we're doing different types of, you know, vocations these days. So how do we bring that more feminine aspect into the way that we live today?
Well, there is no formula. Every person is very unique and very different. Every human being on Earth, Mother Earth. And so that person has to ask their hearts, what can they do, or what must they do to really fully realize who they are? And that when you do that, you will get your information. It won't be in the mind. It'll come through your heart, and it doesn't speak English or use language like that. It's a different kind of language entirely. It's not rational. It's not logical. And so, you know, there are many different ways to get out of the mind. That's one of the first things that must be done, is do your healing work before you can try this, that you let go of all the traumas that you received in your lifetime, including multi-generational trauma, because the mother passes that thing down to the fetus when they're in the womb. And so you need to cleanse that intergenerational trauma, which is suffered by all the women in your lineage. And then you are born a woman, and you deal with the masculine imbalanced world. And you're traumatized by it. You know, there are many women who around the world that are suffering right now because of these kinds of things. And so there's a lot that you have to heal that. But the best way to heal it, I have found, is to gather together in sisterhood, not do it yourself. And women can heal themselves very quickly, not like us men. You know, we take 40 years or 50 years or a lifetime to heal. But women, they can do it quickly, within days even. And then when you do that, you are able to get down to your heart. For men and for everybody in general, there are many things that you can do to feel what it's like to be out of the mind. You know, today you don't have any role models about what it is to be out of your mind. And so you have to experience it, because all the words that I say in the world is not going to make any difference to you until you experience it, so that you know. And one way to do that would be, for example, like the 2-year-old child, do gibberish, or just gibberish for, well, I would say it takes at least an hour a day for 30 days, and you will feel the difference. But when you do it the first time, you can either do it in a group that understands what you're trying to do, or you do it when it's safe, because if you do this in front of other people who don't know, they think you're crazy. Okay, and now when you do that, I would say, start off small. Start off like with 5 minutes of doing gibberish.
Like that? Like
Exactly. Then lay down and then feel the energy that is being generated. And this is the only way that, until it's like a two-dimensional being trying to understand the third dimension. Until you experience it, you won't know what it is. And no matter what I say, you're not going to understand it. So it's like, two-dimensional being trying to understand what a third dimension is. That's a seemingly impossible task. But then doing laughter for an hour every day.
That's medicine, yes.
For 30 days. But start off small. How do you laugh without a joke? You can cry for an hour every day and for 30 days. You will feel a dramatic difference in your being when you do this. So those are just some ways.
Yeah, and it's having fun. It's like being that child like self again. And it was
Exactly.
you were saying you're getting out of your mind, and you're talking gibberish, and we've even made out of your mind a negative phrase. Oh, you're out of your mind. And it's, what's wrong with that?
That's right. That's so true. In India, they recognize this, and so they have laughing kiosks. You just go there to laugh. That's all you do. And just laughing alone makes you feel good, but you do it long enough, you're going to see things and feel things differently.
Right, it's a release, and I was thinking about what you were saying about the women, gathering, and I'm a women's circle leader, and it really is incredible medicine, like you said, people coming together and sharing, and we get out of our heads and into our hearts, and it really creates a shift. It does, and everyone leaves feeling different. And how do we get the men into these circles now?
Yeah. Well, the role of the man during these times is to protect the sacred space of women so they can do their work. These times, all of the indigenous elders that I work with around the world are saying women are going to take the lead during this time, because it is about relationship to self, relationship to others, and relationship ultimately to Mother Earth. And so women, they have a very important role in this time right now, because remember, I said that it's going to be up to us today to change or shift, and we can't offer the world that which we do not have. So if I want peace, I must embody peace, not think peace, but embody it in every cell of your body. If I want love, same thing. All these different things are going to take that kind of an effort. And so I welcome the people who are starting on this journey and who are through this journey.
Yeah, me too. Oh, so powerful. And so it feels so possible.
Very possible.
Yeah.
And it's not going to take us convincing the world. It's only going to take us ourselves. I mean, the sages of the world have always said that, focus on your healing. The rest will take care of itself, because you will then come to the answers that come from the divine through your heart. And so try, the hardest thing to do, I guess, would be, in letting go. Like, for example, I was up in Canada, in Alberta, visiting a couple of friends. And then I heard about this great chief and medicine man and shaman. He's all three, and he's one of the most revered in all of Canada. So I said, I want to meet him. So I call up and his go-between answers. And I told him what I wanted. And he said, okay, there's two things you have to do to meet him. One is that you've got to bring tobacco wrapped up in red cloth. And two is that you are going to have to let go of the very things that you consider the dearest in life. Mm. And so, and then he hung up. And so here I was with this question, and I struggled with it and said, what's the most important thing in my life? And I realized my two daughters. And I said, oh, you know, what is that going to be worth to just talk to a man to let go of my two daughters? And I said, then I finally realized that he had to have had a reason for this. And he's considered very wise amongst all the Native people in Canada. So I said, okay, I will do this. And I cried and I cried and I cried day and night for a week. Then I felt I was ready. And when I called back up, he answers, the chief answers himself. And he says, you don't need to see me anymore. You got what you came for. Mm-hmm. And then he hung up, you know, and I thought that if I let go in that way, I would lose my daughters. But then I remembered my mother telling me, we are spirit beings. And we only take this form because we need this route to come to Earth, and that we are guardians of these spirit beings for a period of time. But that ultimately everybody is Angwan, including our children. We are spirit beings, and we have to let that go. When I let it go, I mean, I got closer to my daughters than ever before.
That was letting go of the river, for sure. And all that you were attached to, and you found even more.
Yeah.
Right. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Oh, this feels like a good place to close. How does that feel to you?
Yep. I think I've given a lot that to chew on. So I think that's enough for now.
Absolutely. I'm grateful for the lessons and the stories and the wisdom that you shared here today. There's a lot that I feel I can apply, you know, in my life and to help others to experience as well. So yeah, exactly. Thank you for that. And if people want to hear more or get in touch with you, would you like to share about how they can do that?
Oh, yeah. First of all, I started up an organization called GSIL. You see that on the screen. It means Global Center for Indigenous Leadership and Lifeways. And when you go to www.gsil.world, you'll find my website. And, you know, I don't broadcast myself, but the foundation that is one of my main funders said, well, you that's one of our requirements. You need to do the site. So I did reluctantly, but because the elders say, don't go where you're not invited, only go where you're invited. And so I thought, well, you know, that means not selling myself. Okay, I'll do that. But it seems like it is a way that most people can find out things about what, if they want to learn more. And as a result of that, I am putting on my first class, internet class, and I'm advertising that on this site. And I'm not charging for the spiritual teaching because that belongs to everyone. What I am charging for is the amount of time it takes to get this put together, including technologically, which apparently is a lot. Yeah, I found out my wife Yael, she's doing the technical stuff for us, and she is really working at it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll post all of that on your speaker page so that people can have those links.
And also, I started up an organization. I co-founded an organization called Wisdom Weavers of the World, and that address is www.wisdomweavers.world.
Great, great, great ways that we can support these spiritual teachings and help to spread them.
Yeah.
Thank you. Kiyok.
Kuyak.
Kuyak. I had the courage to try.
Yeah, at least you had the courage to try.
and laugh. So, okay, wonderful.
Well, thank you for inviting me to this platform, and thank all your watchers, and my blessings to all of you, because we're going to need it during these times.
Thank you, and blessings to you. Thank you so much.
Okay.